listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial.
Claudio Audio.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. We're live on 99.5 ESPN Radio, Emporia's sports headquarters. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan 83. That's at Drew Duncan 83 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can be part of the program also by calling in at 620-343-6143. That's 620-343-6143. I'm going to give you the number one more time. At 620-343-6143. This is the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. We're live on 99.5 ESPN Radio. The Central Florida Knights have decided to take everything to a new level, man. They've gone full on new level. DEFCON 3, bro. That's exactly where Central Florida is right now. DEFCON 3, this is not a drill. They're going for it, bro. Tell you what, man. I just, Central Florida, here's the deal. During their spring football game over the weekend, they literally dropped the flag and unveiled themselves as being the 2017 national champions, being that they were the only team that finished the year undefeated. This is exactly what Central Florida sounds like to me right now.
Enough for you. You have a man who can make you jump up off your chairs, raise your filthy fat little hands in the air, and scream, "Go, Jericho, go! Go, Jericho, go! Go, Jericho, go!" Thank you.
And this is what Alabama sounds like right now.
After 3 boring minutes, The Rock says, "Know your role and shut your mouth!"
I second that.
It gets better.
How dare you, little jabroni, come on The Rock show and not even have the class to introduce yourself? What is your name?
I told you.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
That's exactly what this is like right now. Central Florida's all like, "We're it, guys. We're undefeated. We're awesome. Everybody look at us. We're the new millennium." And Alabama's all over here like, "Let's just everybody calm down for a second. We're the national champions. That's all there is to it." The Rock. That never gets old. I've said it 100 times. I am not the biggest fan of The Rock in the world, but that little "know your role and shut your mouth," that is awesome. Alabama's all over here like,
Little jabroni, come on The Rock show and not even have the class to introduce yourself? What is your name?
I told you.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
you want to talk about getting buried? That's what's going on. Look, here's the deal. All fun and games aside, here is the absolute deal. The Central Florida Knights were a good football team last year. And they have got, 3, 4 projected guys that may be coming out of the NFL draft going into 2018 here in a few days. And then, of course, you've got the huge story of Shaquem Griffin, which everybody loves. I mean, that is just a phenomenal story, not having his hand and being born, the way that he was and all the issues that he's had and the literal grit and determination, playing away from his brother. And it's really a stunning story. And the story of Griffin is amazing to me. Scott Frost, in 2 years' time, took a really, really bad football team and brought him to this level. And Scott Frost got on television and said it felt like a concerted effort to make sure that we were not in a position to where we could be ranked higher. That happened. I mean, and look, I'm not going to say I disagree with Scott Frost, but here's the deal, and I know everybody's going to point to Boise State during the BCS era, but there was more than Boise State during that era. Number one, there was Utah. Remember, that's where Alex Smith came from. Matter of fact, if I remember correctly, it was an Urban Meyer coached Utah team that got them an undefeated season. There were other undefeated teams that played, but they got beat, but they never played for a title. TCU was undefeated during that era. They never got to play for a title. They got beat in one of their bowl games and won one of them. Utah was another one. Boise State was another one. We all remember Hawaii getting blasted by Georgia. So, I mean, look, it's 50-50. But the only reason why I would say that Central Florida should have been given the opportunity is because if Big 12 fans may remember, a few years ago, they were the team that ran all over Baylor. Matter of fact, that was the game that put Blake Bortles on the map, was that game against Baylor. And they weren't even undefeated then, and Baylor only had one loss, and there were a lot of people that thought they should have been in conversations for the first ever college football playoff. Here's the bottom line. I've never understood how we can continuously tell kids that whatever you do, it's not good enough. Didn't we see Houston a couple of years ago finish the season with only one loss and railroad Florida State? Now, I know, a lot of people are going to be talking about, well, these teams were 9-3 and they didn't care. I'm going to tell you something right now. If Auburn players didn't care about that bowl game, if they really did not care about that bowl game, then they shouldn't be playing football. So let's just end that right now, because I've literally not seen anything anywhere where Auburn players have come out of the woodwork. If you can find it, let me know. But I personally have not seen Auburn football players, coaching staff, anybody of authority say, we didn't care about this game. So let's just nip that in the bud right now. If you find it, let me know, because I would love to know that kind of information. But I personally didn't find anything. I've heard people say that was the deal, but I've never actually heard Auburn themselves say, we didn't care, we let Central Florida win, good for them. I mean, because we'd be having a totally different conversation right now. Because the conversation would not be whether or not Central Florida deserved a shot. It would be, what is the state of the program with Auburn, and does their head coach, Gus Malzahn, still deserve to be there? That would be the conversation. I mean, that would have been the conversation a long time ago. So let's just get that out of the way. Okay? Here's the deal. I don't really care who Central Florida beat. There was a point in time where teams like BYU, were considered national champions. There was a point in time where you didn't have to be in a, quote, Power 5 conference. I understand that a lot of this was in the 80s and 90s, but there was that time. And I think that we need to go back to that. Look, anybody who knows me and has followed my program for, the number of years that I've been on the radio, they would tell you straight up that I believe in the underdog. And I don't like the idea of a team going undefeated and being told, no, you're just not good enough. If you are undefeated, you've earned the right to be there. I don't care what anybody says. If anybody wants to call me up and tell me that Alabama would have wiped the floor, that Oklahoma would have wiped the floor, that Georgia would have wiped the floor, Clemson would have wiped the floor, I'm willing to entertain those. And I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong, but I'm going to tell you this, you're not going to change my mind. You are not going to be able to change my mind in any capacity and say, Drew, here's the deal, bro. Georgia, Alabama, those are the guys. Those are the teams. They're too good. Nobody could have beat them last year except for one of themselves. Really? Because it happened. Look, Central Florida didn't just deserve a chance because they were undefeated. They deserved a shot because they put in the same amount of work as anybody else throughout the season. They had the 2-a-day practices. They had the film study. They had to get good grades. They had the time in the weight room. Everybody goes through the same stuff. And when everybody goes through the same stuff when it comes to being an athlete, especially in the game of football, then that means everybody's put in the same work and everybody should get an even playing field. I mean, there have been numerous conversations and rumors, and this is something that has been voted on now, all of it anonymously by coaches who said that they would like the idea of just creating 5 big Power 5 conferences and leaving it to extreme exclusivity. In other words, they would only all play each other in Power 5 football games, and in order to get in, you would have to be voted in. Does anybody see where that's right? Because I don't. Now, look, I'm not one of those guys who thinks that everybody should get a trophy. So let's just stop right there before anybody thinks that about me. What I am about is people who put in hard work and do all the same due diligence and do all the same dedicating things that everybody else did and go undefeated and be told you're not good enough. Could there be a life lesson in this, which is what college is all about? Absolutely. That sometimes even your best is not recognized. And so you have to recognize yourself. And that's what Central Florida chose to do. And they just said, you know what? You guys don't want to give us the recognition? Fine. Because there's no AP national title anymore. That's done. So now it is literally a coach's vote, and it is literally a college football playoff. That's it. And if the coaches don't vote, because they ultimately get the final say-so, by the way, then you're not gonna, because what they do is they just heavily consider the college football playoff champion. That's what this whole thing boils down to me. And, the fact that a lot of these coaches are from this era, it really bothers me that they don't want to see Central Florida in this way. When you're undefeated, you deserve a chance. I don't care what conference you're in. You deserve to be there. If you get belted, oh well. Take Western Michigan a couple of years ago. They were undefeated. Faced a very so-so Wisconsin football team. Got smashed. It was an ugly nightmare from the beginning. But that doesn't mean that they didn't deserve a shot at being in the college football playoff. Maybe Western Michigan didn't care about that game. How about that? Maybe they threw their hands up and said, well, we were undefeated. We gave it our all, and they didn't want to let us in. But that wasn't the conversation, though, was it? Nope, the conversation was, see, they're just not good enough. You see, the narrative changes when it fits what you want to believe. I don't believe that Florida State would have won, but I don't believe that they would have lost. What I do believe and what I know is that they were undefeated, and that when you're undefeated, you should get the opportunity to continue on. Would we do that in the NFL? Would an undefeated football team miss the playoffs? Would we do that at the high school level? Would an undefeated team in high school be allowed to miss the playoffs? Would we do that in the NCAA basketball tournament? The team goes undefeated and still not get in? No, of course, it would be ridiculous to even fathom that. This is why I believe that we need to expand to 16 teams. And I've been saying that from the beginning. Look, I love the college football playoff. And I knew that it was going to make the early weeks in the seasons better. You're seeing better competition. You're seeing coaches that are willing to take more risk. The intensity for recruiting has heightened extremely. There's so many good things about it for college football. But the negative is this kind of dictatorship that they're having, and they're just justifying it all the way across the board. I get it. Alabama plays in the SEC West, and I do believe it is the best subdivision in all of college football. And if we truly believe that, then Central Florida's win, and especially the way that they won that game, should be nothing more than our own affirmation that, you know what, if they would have played Georgia or whoever, then they could have won. They could have won. And let's be really real for here just a second, because I owe these guys a break. Let's be really real here. Though the SEC West is still premier, the best team right now is Alabama. And Auburn, though they were really good last year, they're kind of hit and miss year to year. LSU is hit and miss year to year, especially over the last probably 5 seasons, I would say. Arkansas, definitely struggling. Second half of the season, they seem to do really well. First half of the season, not so much. The point that I'm making is this. How do you tell a 19, 20, 21-year-old kid that going undefeated is not good enough? That putting in all the hard work is just not good enough? How do you do that? You know, that'd be like if you at your job didn't miss a day of work for 5 years and you got really sick and you couldn't make it in and your boss said, hey, man, I'm going to have to dock your pay for that. Yeah, I know, the last 5 years, yeah, you're really great. Never missed a day. I'm going to have to dock your pay for this one day being sick. You wouldn't. That would be unethical. In the same way that this and was completely unethical. Do I agree with Central Florida parading around the way that they are? Absolutely not. In the beginning, yeah, it was funny. Now it's kind of the point where, you know, if they have a bad season this year, and there's a very good possibility that they might, without Scott Frost as their head coach, if they have a bad year this season, this is going to blow up in their face really, really bad. This is the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. We're live on 99.5 ESPN Radio, your sports headquarters. You can call in and tell me how you feel at 620-343-6143. At 620-343-6143. Additionally, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. Hit us a comment and let me know what you think. You can also drop a question, and I'll read it and answer it live over the radio. This is the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan, only on 99.5 ESPN Radio. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back on the flip side, we've got Emporia State and Kansas State spring football games to get to. Don't you dare touch that dial.